Hello, this is Angelia, and you are listening to or watching the podcast, Why You Do What You Do, the podcast that talks about human development and psychology. Now, last time we were talking about social learning theory, and we're going to pick back up on that in a minute. But I had someone come at me the other day. Like I said, in my day, we called them jerks, or if they were a girl, the B word. But my kids call them internet trolls. But anyway, I thought, aha, here's a teachable moment. So I told them what I had to say and then blocked them. But I thought I would touch on that. I already touched on the spiritual aspects of that on my little mini sermon I had earlier today. But I'm going to touch on the psychology part of that now during this podcast, because that's what we talk about. You're here to learn about psychology. So, I'm teaching you psychology. Why else am I bothering if, I don't teach you anything? But here's the thing that you may not know, that psychologists, counselors, people who study psychology, we know that stuff. But if you're attacking someone else, coming at someone else in an aggressive manner, attack is basically defense. So if you're attacking someone else, you're defending something in you. People attack in a war to defend their homeland or their way of life, right? So otherwise, if you didn't feel like you needed to defend your place, you would not bother attacking, right? Okay, so when you come at someone else, you are basically announcing that you feel the need to defend yourself from them in some way. You need to defend your position. You have a wound that you don't want people to touch because it's tender, and you feel the need to defend yourself from that. Or someone hurt you in some kind of way, and this reminds you of that, so you need to defend yourself from that. So, all you people who like to be jerks or Karens or Kevins, no offense to anyone if your name actually is Karen or Kevin. That's the name my kids' generation gave it. Like I said, in my day, we just called them jerks or, But when you're doing that, what you're basically doing is announcing to people, I'm hurt. That's what you're doing. So, if you find yourself doing that, it's time for you to kind of take a step back and say, what was that about? Why did I do that? Why did I feel the need to do that? That was unnecessary, and some people, unfortunately, don't have the presence of mind, the critical thinking skills, to realize that. They really think they're in the right, and this is what they needed to do. And that's unfortunate because they're in denial in that case about what's really going on inside of them. And they need to take a deeper look. Because if you feel the need to come at people and attack people, then the problem's with you. Because other people are just going along minding their own business. Like I say, I mind my own business as much as I can. Because other people are not my business. That's between them and God. And, they got to live with themselves. That's not my business to correct everybody in the world. I don't want that job. I don't even want that drama. So, if you're causing drama in your own life, there's a problem. You're defending yourself from something. So, my advice would be to take a deeper look at that. What are you defending yourself from? What is it that you feel like you're not on solid footing, or that you feel there's a weakness there? Because like fighters look for the weakness in other people, and that's where they take their jab. He drops his left, go. Or like in martial arts, you fight to defend yourself. You're not the attacker. You're taught to fight to defend yourself, because you don't want to get beat up or killed, by this other person attacking you. So, attack and defense kind of go together. They teach you that in martial arts. You defend yourself from attack to protect yourself. So, yeah. So if you find yourself attacking others for any reason, whatever reason, that you're getting irritated, stop and take a look at that. Why is it bothering you? If this person's just going about their business, doing their thing, if you don't like it, you certainly don't have to look at it. Keep scrolling, don't worry about it. But if you feel the need to do that, stop and ask yourself, why? Why do I feel the need to defend, this position, myself, this belief? Because there's an answer there. It's like I said, and another thing I was talking about earlier on our little wisdom for today. Everything you do has a motivation. So when you acted not so great towards another person, there was a motivation behind it. There was something that spurred that on. And now a lot of times, like I say, when people are miserable, they like to cause misery for others. It's the old saying, misery loves company. But when you're aggressive with people, that usually means you have a weakness or a wound that you're trying to protect. You feel weak in an area, you feel like you're in unsteady ground on your opinion, or something that you feel like you need to protect. So just be aware of that. Whenever you are attacking others, coming at others, what you are basically doing is announcing to them, I have this weakness. I don't want you to invade it. I don't want you to hurt me. I don't want you to get too close. So that's what you're telling people. And, not everybody's going to know that unless you've studied psychology. Then you're going to know that. And so, I have compassion for people that are doing this because I know they're doing it out of hurt of some kind. But that doesn't mean I'm going to take it because I can set up some healthy boundaries and say, nope, not dealing with that. Clearly you have a problem. Sorry you have a problem. Not my fault you have a problem, unless it is. And like I say, if someone was to come to me and say, you did this or that, now I would think back, think whether I did this or not, and whether it was intentional. Because intentions have a lot to do with things too. I've hurt people's feelings unintentionally. I didn't think, I meant to hurt their feelings, but something I said, triggered them or hurt them in some way. And that's got a lot to do with it too. Everyone has their own triggers. I might say something that to me, like if you were attacked by a pack of dogs when you were a kid and I walked by with my dog, you might start freaking out. Get that the horrible, mean dog. And I'm like, what? This is the best dog in the world. What is your problem? But because you had that experience, that dog triggered you. So my dog is not actually the problem. You're the problem because in your mind, you had this flashback to this event, post-traumatic stress, that my dog triggered. So again, things can trigger you, but that's not purposeful. Not everyone is out to get you or hurt you or lead you down the wrong path. So again, when you feel the need to defend yourself, think about why that is, especially if you don't feel like the other person is attacking you. Now, they may be attacking your belief system or whatever. But again, everyone is different, and so we all have our own beliefs. And we all have a right to our own beliefs, especially here in the United States of America. And that's where I grew up, in the United States of America, not America, But that's a whole different topic. In other countries, there are dictators who don't allow people to have their own points of view and things. And if that's the society you enjoy and you want to go live in that, have fun. Go do that. But, I like discussions of ideas. I like people, who can think for themselves. And, I don't mind if you even tell me your opinion, as long as you're not doing it in a verbally abusive manner. If you're, saying mean things and blah, 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 and then I'm like, okay, whatever, because I don't even want the drama. I've gotten to the age, in the hell state, in the middle state, I don't even want to deal with your drama. One of the reasons I retired, I don't even want to deal with your drama. I want peace and quiet and happiness in my life now, So, just to let you know, that's what you're telling people. When you go at people and act all aggressive with people, basically you're announcing to them, I have a wound, I'm hurt, I'm going to come at you to defend myself, when there's probably no reason to defend yourself. So just be aware of that, off that soapbox. And back to social learning theory. If all the teachers in Carlos's school are women, he probably will not copy their behavior, which he may consider unmanly. And that's kind of sexist. But that's how sometimes boys are raised. The father's like, that's not manly, or, whatever. And so there are some sexual stereotypes that we can pass on to our children that are not necessarily good. However, if he meets a male teacher he likes, he may change his mind about the value of teachers as models. I've had teachers of both sexes that I liked. I have two of my teachers that are my friends on Facebook. So, you had to like a teacher, you friend them on Facebook. But, kids, especially if they don't come from a great home, a lot of them do look up to teachers, because there are good teachers who will invest time and effort and love even on your children. One of my sons had a teacher, and she would just hug them, hug them close and everything. And, they would do something great. She's like, oh, so-and-so, I love you, and the kids, of course, they loved that. They ate it up, because they might never hear that at home. They might never hear, oh, so-and-so, I love you. And that's why Barney was so successful, because what did Barney say? I love you. So the kids ate that up, and Mr. Rogers would say, I like you just the way you are. So, kids eat that up, especially if they come from a home life where they're not getting that. Applied behavior analysis, a combination of conditioning and modeling, can be used to help eliminate undesirable behaviors and encourage socially desirable ones. Because when you're conditioned to do something, like I said, you have a part in that. And sometimes that can not be good, because sometimes you're conditioned in a way that is not good. Like, if you have a verbally abusive parent that every time you get a little loud, they scream at you, then you're going to learn to whisper and be quiet. People are like, wait, I can't hear you. Speak up, but you were taught, you were conditioned not to do that. So, and that's something I've had a hard time with, is, verbalizing to people's acceptance, because a lot of times, and this is something they also teach about in, body language and things like that. If you're whispering and everything, people think that you don't have anything important to say, or you would be saying it louder. And so people will talk over you if you're not, speaking in an authoritative manner. And people, children will model the people who are giving them the most attention. what they consider the most love. So if they're getting the most attention from a gang leader who's putting their arm around, say, yeah, we're your family, we'll be your family. That's who they're going to model themselves after. That's who they're going to pay attention to. So you parents, if you want to be the top model in your child's life, then you need to be the one giving them the most love and affection and attention. That doesn't mean you have to spoil them. That just means you invest your time and effort in them, which is unfortunate that nowadays a lot of people don't want to be bothered with that, Oh, God, go outside and play. And that happened a lot, in the other days, too. Especially in, country homes on farms and things where mom had a lot of work to do. She's expected to, cook and clean and all that fun stuff. But you still need to invest the time and effort in your child and the love if you want to be the top model in your child's life. Because there are going to be undesirable behaviors that pop up in your kid's life. They're going to learn stuff from people. I mean, I'm sure all of us who are parents remember the first time your kid said a cuss word and you're, oh, where did you hear that? Oh, so-and-so said, no, not in this house. So you're going to have to be able to deal with undesirable behaviors, because if you just reinforce them by giving in or, pushing them off, then what you've done is taught them that they can get away with this, And with children, the saying is true, you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. Because they're testing the boundaries. They're trying to see where they are and what they can get away with. And you want your child to exhibit socially desirable behavior. Because then they'll get along with other people. They'll be more friendly. They'll do better in school. Because the teachers will give them breaks. I've had teachers who gave me breaks. And I didn't even really deserve a break because I know I did a sloppy job. I was in a hurry, didn't care, was going out that night or whatever. But, if you're more friendly and sociable, people will like you more. And then that leads to, you do better at work. And if you do better at work, more likely you get promoted, more promotions you get, the more money you get. So it all ties in. You want your child to be socially acceptable as possible. Now, there are mental disabilities, physical disabilities that, that's going to play into whether children accept them or not. That's something we've had to deal with in my family, and I was a very strong advocate for my children. You can ask any of the principals and counselors at any of the schools they went to. I was a very strong advocate for my children because I had to be. Because other people were not treating them the way they should have been treated. There were teachers who purposely left children out of things who were mentally disabled because they didn't want to deal with them, thought they were too much trouble or whatever. And so I was like, oh, no, you're not going to do this to my child and get away unscathed. No, that's not happening. And then there were other kids who were mean, oh, you look like this, you did this or whatever. Some things can't be helped. But if you teach your child how to be a socially functional person, then their life's going to be that much better. I mean, I know people whose children just wild things, run around. No one ever teaches them anything. They do whatever they want. They destruct property. They steal. They, abuse people. And it's like, don't you love your children? Don't you care about them? Don't you want them to have the best outcome for their life? Well, if the answer is yes, then why aren't you investing the time and effort to teach them and raise them right? That all falls back on you. Your kids aren't just wild for no reason. Bandura's newest version of social learning theory is called social cognitive theory. The evolution from one name to the other reflects Bandura's increasing emphasis on cognitive responses to perceptions as central to development. So the way you think about things is the way you feel about things. And the way you think about things might be colored by your experiences. So, like I said, if you had negative experiences, that might color things more negative. If you had positive experiences, that might color things more positive. So, how you see things is based on your experiences. And that's why I say about children learn what they live. If they're living in not such a great way, they're going to grow up in not such a great way, and they're going to feel not such a great way about things. Cognitive processes are at work as people observe models. Like I said, the people we look up to. I had some grandmas, especially one of them, who was really good. She was a very good person. She was a very loving, giving person. And she also taught us things. She didn't just let us play all. She would teach us stuff. She would tell us stuff. She understood what a teaching moment was. And she didn't have higher education. So, excuse me. My other grandma also, kind of the same way. She was a little more punitive, but she also understood what a teaching moment was. And I had a great aunt who just loved me to death, just doted on me, hugged on me. And these are the people you look up to. Because, like I said, the people who are loving you and paying you the most attention, those are the people you're going to model yourself after. Those are the people you're going to pay attention to. So, parents, if you don't want a gang leader or, the bad kids on the block to be the models to your child, then you need to be the top model to your child, and invest that love and time and effort in teaching them how to be a good person. We learn chunks of behavior. So, like a little bit of behavior at a time, because our brain has to digest things, just like our body does. I mean, if we came out and just threw everything in the world that's known so far today at you, as like a 5-year-old, your mind would just go poof, overload, too much stimulation, like when you overstimulate a baby and they look away, all like kind of like they're stressed. It'd be too much. So your behavior, like everything else, is learned in chunks. You learn from this kid over here to maybe color a certain way, and that helps you stay in the lines. You learn from, this girl over here how to whistle. You learn from this kid on the bus how to snap. You learn in chunks. Everything you learn, is divided up because we aren't exposed to everything all at once, thank goodness. Our mentality, and we put the chunks together into complete new behavior patterns. So that's what we do. We are in a linear existence, and we have to do things in a certain way. You do this, which leads to this, which leads to this. And the more we grow, the more we learn, and the more we use what we've learned in our existence. Rita, for example, imitates the toes-out walk of her dance teacher, but models her dance steps after those of Carmen, a slightly more advanced student. So, again, we're adapting things that we see in our environment to us as an individual. So we're taking information in, and then we're expressing it in our own individuality. And that's what we should be doing. Even so, she develops her own style of dancing by putting her observations together into a new pattern. And that's what we all do. We learn from others. We imitate others. We take this information and decide what we want to do with it. We dissect it. This part's for me. This part, not so much. I do like this part, but not this part so much. But I like this. And then you take it and put your own spin on it, where everyone's an individual. These people who are like, oh, everything is this, everything is that, no, we're all individuals. So, all things affect us in different ways. So you can't put a cookie cutter label on people. And that's an unfortunate thing that some people do too. They give people labels. Just like you got a soup can and you got a label on that says what's in it. You can't do that with people. Just because so-and-so reminds you of so-and-so who did so-and-so doesn't mean that's a right label, you know? And some people will do that. They give you a one-word label. Oh, she's this. Then that is how they relate to you from then on. Even if you're not this, you know? So be careful of that. When you're labeling people, you're doing that for your own comfort. You're doing that because you might not be as socially adept as you'd like to be. And this other person is new to you and you don't know whether they're a threat or a friend. So you watch their behavior and decide, which you feel they are. Looking for defects, flaws, or whatever to make yourself feel better about yourself sometimes. And, that's how you deal with that person, is by that label. Oh, they're so-and-so, they're this. And then you will miss out on a person's full personality by doing that. Because most people are not one aspect of their personality. One aspect of your personality is about this much of your personality, and the rest is the total sum of you, as big as your body or bigger. Because you have ideas that probably, transcend time and space. So if you're labeling people, stop. Because one size doesn't fit all. One label does not fit all. So get to know a person before you start assigning labels to them to make your interaction with them easier. Not cool. Through feedback on their behavior, children gradually form standards for judging their own actions and become more selective in choosing models who exemplify these standards. In a lot of kids' language, and I use a lot of kids' language because I raised kids and I used to be a preschool teacher for a couple of years. As a lot of people you can kind of categorize as they're doing good things or doing bad things. And children pick up on that. They like people who are more like what they think the people should be. Like if they have a teacher who enjoys reading and writing and they enjoy reading and writing, they're going to pay more attention to that teacher than they are, another teacher who's like, oh, hey, writing all this stuff, just, look at this chapter or whatever. They're going to be like, oh, and I know I had teachers like that too, that I felt like were kind of lazy. They're not doing their work. They're just like assigning you stuff while they're sitting at their desk and talking about the good old days with so-and-so. And you're like, why are you here? But, they are going to like, your kids are going to like certain things a certain way. And so they're going to be gravitating towards people who exemplify these things. So you need to be paying attention, because if they're gravitating towards things that you do not want them to be gravitating towards, you need to intervene and say, oh, well, that's not good because, and give them the reasons. Don't just tell your kids because I said so. That will get you nowhere, because basically what you've told the kid is, I don't care about you enough to even give you the reasons. Just do it because I said so. No, they want to know the reasons. So tell them the reasons. This is not good because, this can hurt other people. This can be bad for you later on. Give them the reasons so they understand. Because when they understand, when you give them reasons, they can then internalize these reasons. And that becomes a part of their moral code. And they understand why this is a bad thing to do. And the same thing, why this is a good thing to do. You see that, whatever, they're gravitating. Oh, that's good. Because, why is it good? Because you're giving them things to internalize and work on. like I said, our little brains are like computers. We get input, and the input we get helps us to determine what output we're given. They also begin to develop a sense of self-efficacy, blah, blah, one of them tongue words for my brain, or confidence that they have the characteristics they need to succeed. And this is a point for me. I get upset when I hear parents undermining their kids or talking bad about their kids. Well, my kid, blah, blah, blah. Oh. You need to build that child up, not tear him down. Because the more you build a child up, the higher they can go. You've already given them a foundation, that they can build on. If you're tearing your child down and talking about them like they're lower than the dog, then what you've done is you've dug a hole. And it's going to take them a lot longer to get out of that hole than it would be if you built them a little bit of a platform to help them get a little higher in the world. So when you're tearing your kid down, think about that. You just dug a hole that they're going to have to climb up out of someday. And that makes you a pretty miserable person too, if you feel like you have to take whatever your whole inside problem is out on your kids. And so that's where I'm going to stop for today. It got a little preachy today, didn't it? You might be able to guess. I might be a retired preacher. But hopefully that has helped you learn a little bit more about why you do what you do. Until next time.